Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. The bigger picture, only on Money FM 89.3.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on Money FM 89.3. And it's time to take a closer look at Singapore's IPO landscape and the evolving dynamics of equity capital markets. So we've got lots to watch out for: shifting global headwinds, sector rotations, emerging investor priorities. What does the outlook hold for listings on the SGX? So we are going to be exploring what's driving activity on the exchange, where global interest is coming from, and how REITs, especially milestone listings like NTT DC REIT, are shaping Singapore's position as a preferred listing destination. And no better person to talk about it than Ronald Tan. He is the Senior Vice President for Equity Capital Market at Global Sales and Origination at the Singapore Exchange. Ronald, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Thank you, Ryan, for having me here.
Okay, so it's been a pickup, I would say, in terms of buzz, excitement in the Singapore IPO landscape, because last year, relatively, it was quite dry. I think there was only 4 IPOs last year. Walk us through what you're seeing right now in terms of the change.
Definitely. I think we've seen a lot of volatility, and with Trump tariffs impacting the economies, despite all that, I think this year it's really exciting. We've seen uptake. Last week we did an IPO of Infotech that was done very, very well, hugely oversubscribed, and that led on to even this week where, we're seeing the public offer for NTT DC REIT, which I've been told is actually quite well subscribed by the retail investors. So we'll know the results pretty soon. And that's a $1 billion fundraise. If you think about it, we haven't had a $1 billion fundraise by any REIT IPO in the last decade. So it is really showing to the market that investors are ready to deploy. More importantly, so are sponsors waiting to come on board.
Yeah, how is unpacking this timing? Because to do an IPO, you typically need a runway, months or even years in the making. So you've probably been hearing a lot about plans before all this already played out. What is it about the timing? Because in the backdrop, you've got tariffs, tensions, geopolitics. Despite that, folks are still pushing ahead.
The reality is that there is always appetite for more IPOs, but you need the right environment, be it interest rates, be it the market performance and volatility. But the reality is that there is interest from sponsors who need to monetize their assets, who need to unlock value. On the other side, investors need to deploy capital. So we actually have, on the left side, capital that's waiting to be deployed. On the right side, sponsors who are really looking to monetize. When all of that come together with the right environment, hey, like this morning, we have some rain.
Nice. All right, let's talk about what is playing out in terms of trends globally and locally. So we've got also rate cuts coming soon. Does it play a part in, appetite? Also notably, we talk about NTT DC REIT. They say the timing is not perfect for an IPO as the market is not stable. But as you pointed out, they need to do business. So I guess you have these considerations at play here. What is the preference right now when it comes to IPO listings?
I think it's always being there earlier, being ready, because when the markets open up, as we're probably seeing perhaps next week as the IPO happens, it is a fairly stable time. Being ready to capture the market is key because the windows are very short these days, right? You may have a moment of stability that lasts a week or so. So being ready, when the market is stable, you're able to launch your offer, which is what NTT DC REIT has managed to do. It's something that we've worked on for almost 1-2 years in the making. But when the market is ready like now, we go out. Obviously, rate cuts, as you mentioned earlier on, will help because it makes the offering even more exciting, offering you 7.5% yield. And if rate comes down, it helps the REIT to deliver more DPU because interest expense comes down. But from investor point of view, the spread above risk-free rate gets even better. So all that adds very comfortably to this offering. And that's probably why we see for the first time as well in our history of the REIT IPO where GIC has come in a very substantial stake, taking just under 10% and being, I would say, the second largest shareholder after the sponsor. That's all confidence that is given both to the offering, but also to the quality of what's available.
Yeah, a vote of confidence by GIC going into the NTT DC REIT, which I believe is the biggest REIT IPO in a decade.
That's right.
So a lot of interest in REITs, notably because SGX is a bit of a REIT hub. Where else are you seeing interest from when you look at sectors or geographies?
So last week we saw a SaaS company, a local grown company that IPO'd in our main board. Our pipelines as we look in the later half of this year We're seeing healthcare companies that will come as well. We're seeing interest in more technology companies that will come to the market as well. So we're seeing a mixture of very resilient sectors like healthcare, as like I mentioned earlier on, as well as technology or SaaS technology. These are the sort of companies that can ride the current situations, whether it's volatility or the uncertainty. These are very resilient sectors, and these are the companies we're seeing. Of course, we also have upcoming catalyst listings, Lam Chang, as well as Design Format. And these are very interesting because these are homegrown names, but they've managed to create a very good ecosystem of interior design companies in Singapore that are coming to the market. So we do see very selected sectors that are resilient, that has done well, and these are the companies of pipelines that we're seeing coming to the market.
All right, and you talk about REITs as well, and it's quite a big universe when we talk about REITs. Yep. Which other places in the REIT space are you seeing growth in?
We all know Centurion, one of our listed companies, has announced their submission for REIT listing. So that one will be a very interesting play because it's probably the first of its kind where you have living assets comprising workers' dormitory, which is what the parent has, as well as student accommodation. So they have a very broad accommodation thematic, which will be very interesting for the market currently. At the same time, we also have another listed issuer on our exchange, Baostad, that has announced that they're reviewing plans whether they would do a REIT of their industrial and logistics. So I will say that, again, we see the sectors that are coming to market from the REIT assets point of view are the resilient, are the new economy, whether they are in, the new economy tech like digital data centers or accommodation assets or even high quality logistic assets.
Yeah, so data centers with the AI boom, logistics as well, where Singapore is, and overseas assets also, I suppose, is shaping up for Singapore with, I guess, the interest in the retail crowd here. How is SGX keeping a strong hold in this space, the REIT space? How is it keeping its edge when it comes to working with issuers, regulators as well, to just be ahead of the game?
We have a very proactive engagement with the industry as well as the regulators. So, for example, SGX, we are part of the founding member of REITs, which is the REIT Association of Singapore, that champions the needs and makes sure that our regulations and our rules are current and relevant. So we've seen a lot of meaningful changes, the gearing being changed to 50% together with MAS to ensure that in a rising interest rate environment, 50% is probably the right level of limit. So that's an example where we've been very in the forefront of making sure that our regulations are current. On top of that, we as Exchange has been working very actively on the retail investor front, education. We have also launched what we call the SGX REIT ambassadors, who have been going around visiting the different assets in Singapore and also helping us to amplify that message. I think this NTT DC REIT, you will see a lot of interest that come from both finfluencers, SGX ambassadors. This is how we engage our investor pool, our multipliers, to help retail investors better understand what is the offering, what are the opportunities, what are the potential risks, that they can make a better investment decision.
All right, exciting days ahead for more listings perhaps, and that's definitely something to watch out for. And we've been in conversation with Ronald Tan. He is the Senior Vice President for Equity Capital Markets as well as Global Sales and Origination for SGX. Ronald, thank you so much for your time and the conversation today.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us on Money FM 89.3.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.